History is sometimes shaped by wars, sometimes by kings, and sometimes by quiet yet unshakable character. Abraham Lincoln was exactly that kind of leader. What made him powerful was not simply the presidency. What made him different was his choice to stand for what was right in the hardest moments. He was born in 1809 into a poor family. He did not grow up in privilege. He worked, chopped wood, read books, and educated himself. His formal schooling was minimal, but he had determination, discipline, and above all, a deep sense of justice. At a young age, Lincoln realized something important. The strength of a nation comes not from wealth, but from justice. America at that time was divided in two, North and South. The greatest conflict was slavery. One side treated humans as property. The other believed all humans were born free. For Lincoln, this was not just political, it was moral. When he was elected president in 1860, the country was already on the edge. Soon, the Civil War began. For most leaders, winning a war is the main goal. But Lincoln faced a deeper question. What should this war be won for? Only for unity, or for human dignity? In the middle of war, Lincoln signed one of the most important documents in history, the Emancipation Proclamation. This decision was risky militarily, dangerous politically, but morally unavoidable. Lincoln understood something simple. Doing what is right is often costly, but doing what is wrong costs far more. The war dragged on. Losses increased, press agree. Criticism intensified, yet Lincoln did not step back. Because true leadership does not appear in comfort. It appears in hardship. One of his strongest traits was restraint. He did not treat opponents as enemies, but as people with different views. He forgave many. He gave second chances. To Lincoln, a nation is strengthened not by revenge, but by unity. By 1865, the war was nearing its end. Slavery was abolished. The nation was but Lincoln would not live long enough to see the peace he fought for. He was assassinated, yet some leaders never truly die because their ideas live on. Today, Abraham Lincoln represents more than a president. He represents resilience, moral courage, determination, and above all, the willingness to pay the price for doing what is right. Lincoln teaches us one lasting truth. Power does not come from position. Power comes from character, and history remembers not the strongest, but those who chose what was right. In the heart of the American frontier, a story of resilience, intellect, and unwavering moral conviction began. Abraham Lincoln, born into poverty in a one-room log cabin in Kentucky, seemed destined for a life of hardship. His early years were marked by loss and labor. He lost his mother at the tender age of 9, a blow that shaped his melancholic yet determined spirit. Formal schooling was a luxury, amounting to perhaps a year in total, pieced together between chores. Yet, within this young boy burned an insatiable hunger for knowledge. By the dim light of the fireplace, he would read and reread any book he could get his hands on: the Bible, Shakespeare, histories. He taught himself, slowly and meticulously, building the foundation of the man he would become. As a young man, Lincoln's ambition led him away from the farm. He tried his hand at various jobs: a shopkeeper, a postmaster, a surveyor. Each role, though humble, honed his understanding of people and the practicalities of life. It was during this time that he moved to New Salem, Illinois, a town that would become the crucible of his political awakening. His natural charisma, storytelling ability, and profound honesty earned him the respect of his community. They saw in him not just a lanky, self-educated man, but a leader of genuine integrity. It was here he first ran for public office, and though he lost that initial race for the state legislature, the experience only solidified his resolve. He won his next attempt and served 4 terms, all while teaching himself law in his spare time. Lincoln's legal career was as much about justice as it was about law. Riding the circuit as a lawyer, he traveled from town to town, arguing cases that ranged from simple property disputes to complex criminal trials. He became known for his sharp logic, his homespun humor, and his remarkable ability to connect with a jury. He wasn't just arguing points of law. He was telling stories that revealed the human truth at the heart of each case. His reputation as Honest Abe wasn't a political slogan. It was a testament to his character, earned in countless small-town courtrooms where his word was his bond. This period was crucial, sharpening the intellect and rhetorical skill that would later define his presidency. His political aspirations grew, but the path was far from smooth. Lincoln served a single term in the U.S. House of Representatives before returning to his law practice, feeling his political career had stalled. But the nation was being torn apart by the issue of slavery, and Lincoln could not remain on the sidelines. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed for the potential expansion of slavery into new territories, reignited his political fire. He joined the newly formed Republican Party, a party founded on the principle of preventing slavery's spread. The turning point came in 1858, with the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Running for a U.S. Senate seat against the powerful incumbent Stephen Douglas, Lincoln engaged in a series of 7 debates across Illinois. The nation watched. Douglas was a polished, famous orator, while Lincoln was the underdog. Yet, Lincoln held his own, arguing with powerful moral clarity. He famously declared, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." He argued that the nation could not endure permanently half slave and half free. Though he lost the Senate election, the debates catapulted him onto the national stage. He had articulated the moral crisis of the Union in a way no one else had. His powerful words and unyielding principles made him the voice of a growing movement. Just 2 years later, in 1860, this once poor frontier boy was elected the 16th President of the United States. His victory was the final trigger. Before he even took office, 7 southern states seceded from the Union, with 4 more to follow. The House was not just divided, it was collapsing. The Civil War had begun. Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War is a masterclass in navigating a crisis of unimaginable scale. He faced immense pressure from all sides. Abolitionists demanded immediate emancipation. Conservatives urged caution, and generals often proved indecisive or incompetent. Lincoln, however, demonstrated a unique blend of patience, pragmatism, and unwavering resolve. He was a hands-on commander-in-chief, studying military strategy late into the night, and constantly visiting with his troops, offering them words of encouragement. He understood that this was not just a political conflict, but a human one, measured in blood and loss. His primary goal was always the preservation of the Union. But as the war raged on, his vision evolved. He realized the Union could not be truly saved without addressing the sin of slavery that had caused the division. The Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 was a pivotal moment. It was a bold, strategic, and profoundly moral act. It transformed the war's purpose, turning it into a fight for freedom. It wasn't a perfect documented, initially freed enslaved people only in the rebellious states, but it was a promise, a declaration that the nation was turning a corner towards a new birth of freedom. In the midst of the carnage, Lincoln's words offered solace and purpose. His Gettysburg Address, a mere 272 words, delivered at the dedication of a soldier's cemetery, redefined the very meaning of the nation. He spoke of a government of the people, beat the people for the people, ensuring that the sacrifices made were not in vain, but were for the preservation of democracy itself. In his second inaugural address, delivered just weeks before the war's end, he offered no triumphalism, no glory. Instead, he called for healing, with malice toward none, with charity for all, urging a fractured nation to bind up its wounds and achieve a just and lasting peace. Tragically, Lincoln would not live to see that peace fully realized. Just days after the Confederate surrender, he was assassinated. A final, violent act in a war that had claimed so many. But his legacy was already secure. Abraham Lincoln, the boy from the log cabin, had guided his country through its darkest hour. He saved the Union, ended slavery, and in doing so, redefined the promise of America. His life reminds us that from the humblest of beginnings, true greatness can arise. Greatness measured not in power or wealth, but in courage, compassion, and an unshakable commitment to justice and unity for all. Thank you for watching. If you found this story inspiring, please like and subscribe for more. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell button to be notified of updates.